Welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great night. In today's episode, we have a jam-packed show. We're going to be talking about extensions with the Pistons. There was an article over at spottrack.com citing two players that are eligible for contract extension. So we're going to be reading part of that article and just giving our overall reactions and opinions on the matter. Cam Thomas and his next team odds. I think you guys will be very curious to see who is number one on that list. Lindy Waters is signed with a brand new team. We'll kind of recap that very briefly, and we'll end the podcast. The Pistons have signed a new two-way player, a new two-way contract player, and I'll kind of give you guys just my overall thoughts and opinions on the matter and where he will be playing the most this season and what it means for the Detroit Pistons. So let's get into the extensions with the Pistons. I had mentioned at the top of the podcast, there was an article over at Spot Track. Keith Smith, if you guys know Keith Smith, Cap Space Guru, they did a really nice article if you guys want to go check that out. And they talked about each team and they had like bullet points of what they heard and, just conversations they had with front office people and team executives. Now, I'm going to go straight down to the extension talks. If you guys want to read the rest of the article, you're more than welcome. But the extension talks bullet says, on extension talks with Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey. Those guys are key guys for us. We're not the cap space Pistons anymore. We're the playoff Pistons now. If we want to keep being the playoff Pistons, we need to be really smart from here on out, a Pistons front office executive said. That means finding the right deal for us and our players, but we love both Jalen and Jaden have developed. Look, if we had Jaden last year, we win our first round playoff series in forever. We believe that 100%. We're hopeful we can get extensions done with both of those guys and keep them in Detroit for a long time. Okay, there is a lot to break down with that quote from a Detroit Pistons front office executive. I think the first thing that I read in my initial reactions with that was, they're not the cap space Pistons in quotes. They are the playoff Pistons. And I love reading that. I'm sure you guys do too. That rebuild from 2020 to 24 was rough. I think it really was hard to be a Piston fan during the rebuilding years, during the Troy Weaver era, but we stuck through it. You guys that have been watching this YouTube channel, been subscribed to the podcast, you guys are diehard fans, and I love you guys for that. But those were some really dark times, and I think we can all agree there. I like reading that this front office wants to continue to have success and also, be in the playoff picture. I think last season was so enjoyable as a fan to watch from October all the way up to May. The way that they developed, the way they got better, the way that it was a next man out mentality. You lose your second leading scorer, and you're still able to not only win 40 games this season, but you finished as the 6th seed, and you took a 3-seeded New York Knicks team to 6 games. You won 2 road playoff games in MSG. I think that deserves a round of applause because I don't really think a lot of people thought that the Detroit Pistons were really going to challenge the Knicks the way that they did. You see some guys kind of just want to have a hot take on like a ESPN or whatever. And if they're right, they look really smart. If they're wrong, no one will really come at them for it. But I was really just proud of this team. And it's good to hear that the front office wants to continue to be the playoff Pistons. They also mentioned that they have to be smart with the way that they are constructing rosters. Now, they didn't physically say that in the article, but you can kind of just read the tea leaves saying, like, we have to be smart from here on out if we want to continue to be the playoff Pistons and make the playoffs each and every year. I think you had a lot of questions last season that now you have answers to. Cade is a franchise guy. Sar Thompson is your best defender. He's going to be a Swiss Army knife. Ron Holland showed you that he can play the energizer role. He showed you that he's very versatile, and he had a really promising summer league. Jaden Ivey showed you in a very small sample size that he can shoot pretty good volume from three and hit a good clip from three as well. This is a young core that I think that the front office wants to continue to grow with and see how far that they can actually go. And I'm excited to see what does happen this season. Now, I know I rambled on for about 5 minutes. Do apologize there, but I just love doing these podcasts and talking with you guys. I excuse me if you do hear my neighbor's dogs. I have a neighbor that literally takes like 4 or 5 hour naps and leaves her dog out like for hours at a time in the heat, which people like that shouldn't have dogs. I'm sorry, I'm rambling again. I want to kind of get into the extension stuff because that's probably why you guys are here and why you're listening. Now, the extension stuff, I think we've talked about multiple times on the podcast. Both Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren are extension eligible to sign brand new contracts. And I want to put this on the screen again because it says, we believe that 100%, we're hopeful we can get extensions done with both of those guys and keep them in Detroit for a long time. I think there's been a lot of speculation. From myself, I will be 100% transparent. I've been very, I don't know if you can, keep everybody, but it sounds like the Detroit Pistons front office is pretty confident that they can get extensions done with both Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. And they want to keep these guys in Detroit for a long time. I love reading that. I know some people have their questions with this core. How far can this core actually, take the Detroit Pistons? Can this core eventually win a championship? We just don't know yet. I think they're very young and they had their first successful season under JB Bickerstaff. But it is sounding like the Detroit Pistons front office want to extend both Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. Could it happen this summer? Maybe. I mean, this is the first word we've got from a front office person, not named Trajan Langdon, that, they want to keep these guys in Detroit and they want to keep them around long term. And they feel very highly of both of these guys. Even kind of mentioned, like, we have Jaden Ivey, we probably beat the New York Knicks, which I'm to a point, I don't know about you guys, like, I've kind of moved on. I love the playoff series that we had against the Knicks. We showed a lot of grit and toughness, and I think we put the league on notice that the Detroit Pistons are a physical, tough branded basketball team. But OKC won the championship. I'm excited for this upcoming season. Could we get to a top 4 seed? Could we be a top 5 seed? Can we get to 50 wins? Like, those are the conversations that I can't wait to have with you guys throughout the season, throughout the summer, and leading up to this upcoming season. But I did want to touch on the extension talks from SpotTrack.com. Again, if you guys want to check out that article, Keith Smith did a wonderful job, not only covering the Detroit Pistons, but other NBA teams that they did catch up with at the Las Vegas Summer League. Now, I do want to kind of transition over to Cam Thomas. Now, I see a lot of people today, they're talking about Cam Thomas, and I opened my phone. I was like, why is Cam Thomas trending right now? Did he fire off another tweet at Zach Lowe? I don't know if you guys watch Zach Lowe and the Kayas kind of talk about him and his current just situation with his restricted free agency, and the Nets really don't want to pay him what he's asking for. If you guys haven't, just scrolled on the timeline on Twitter, Cam Thomas kind of went off on Zach Lowe. Kind of hilarious when I did read those tweets because I thought it was like some NBA Sentinel, but it's actually Cam Thomas. But his next team odds came out from Bovada, and I'm going to put it on the screen for you guys to see. So Cam Thomas's next team odds favorites: number 1, the Detroit Pistons at plus 350. Number 2, the Charlotte Hornets at plus 400. Number 3, the Chicago Bulls at plus 400 as well. Memphis Grizzlies at plus 400. Orlando Magic plus 650. Utah Jazz plus 650. And Washington Wizards plus 650. Now, I do want to discuss this because I see some people talk about it. Cam Thomas to Detroit, is it a possibility? Now, this is probably going to be something you guys just don't want to hear because you see Cam Thomas and you're like, can we get him? How do we get him? How do we sign him? When you see odds like this, and I want to put the odds back on the screen. When you see odds from NBA Central, favorites to land, this does not mean that the Detroit Pistons are actively shopping to trade or sign Cam Thomas. That's not what it means. What it means is people in Vegas are placing bets on his next team odds. And the bettors in Vegas assume that the Detroit Pistons would be a team that could possibly, a keyword could, go after a Cam Thomas. And that's all I'll really say. I think it's a fun little topic for today. I don't really think that the Detroit Pistons are looking at him. I just don't. I think that everything we've heard from Trajan in his press conferences, he's mentioned Jaden Ivey in a very positive light. And I think Trajan likes Jaden Ivey as a player. I think if you were to get Cam Thomas, it's like what kind of happens with Ivey. I doubt Cam Thomas wants a six-man role. He seems like a guy that just wants to be the guy. And Brooklyn is one of the worst teams in basketball right now because they're rebuilding, and a rebuilding team doesn't want to pay him big money because they want to keep their cap flexibility open. So I don't really know what's going to happen with him. Maybe he takes his final year of his RFA deal and then just hits free agency next summer when more teams have cap space because the 2026 free agency class is probably going to be one of the better free agency classes in quite some time. Maybe Cam Thomas will have a suitor then, but I think the team odds, that if you guys are reading into it's just people in Vegas betting on it. It's not that the Pistons are trying to trade for him or they're trying to acquire him via sign and trade with Brooklyn. If I had to guess, he probably is in Brooklyn. It's just the negotiations right now aren't going the way he wants. I think he wants to get paid. A lot of these guys want to get paid, and it's not just a Cam Thomas thing. Like, there are some restricted free agents right now that just are not getting paid. Like Josh Giddey wants like 30 million, but the Bulls aren't budging on that. Jonathan Kuminga's in the same boat. Like, he wants to get paid as well. He wants to get paid 30 million. Warriors are like, we're good. We don't like you that much. So a lot of these restricted free agents just aren't getting the type of money that they thought they were going to get. So kind of sucks to see. Hopefully these guys do get paid. But again, I really wouldn't read too much into the Cam Thomas next team odds. I see people kind of speculating that, he'd start next to Cade and Pistons would have someone that could get us 40 on any given night. And like, it's definitely a summer conversation. It's definitely an off-season topic, you guys. But again, don't read too much into it. These team odds, like, they barely ever come true. It's just Vegas putting bets on stuff. Wanted to transition over to Lindy Waters. So Lindy Waters, we got a tweet from Shams Charania this morning that he is going to be signing a one-year deal with the San Antonio Spurs. Shot 37% from three in his first four NBA seasons in Oklahoma City, Golden State, and Detroit. So Lindy is going to San Antonio. San Antonio's been having a sneaky good offseason. I don't know how much playing time Lindy will get, but wishing him well. I loved just seeing him on the bench celebrating. Seemed like a really positive guy. I think the only Lindy Waters memory that I have recently was one of the last games in the season. I think it was against the Bucks. We shut down everybody. Lindy tied the game, went into overtime. He went crazy in that game, but I think he's a solid rotation piece for the Spurs. No, kind of just like a depth piece, if you will. Can shoot the 3-point shot. Neutral defender. Not like lockdown, just neutral. Like he's passable out there, but wishing him well. We got him in the Dennis Schroeder deal. It's kind of just like a throw-in piece, but again, did want to mention it on the pod because there were some people asking if we were going to bring Lindy Waters back. I wasn't really entirely sure what the Pistons' next move may be, but obviously it isn't going to be Lindy Waters coming back to the Detroit Pistons. Now, we'll end the podcast with an addition to the Detroit Pistons. Now, this actually came out maybe an hour ago. I'm recording this podcast like around 8 o'clock. And Shams Karani had tweeted out that the Detroit Pistons are signing guard forward Kobby Jones on a two-way contract, sources tell ESPN. Jones, 23, averaged 8.7 points, 4.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.3 steals, in the final 2 months of the 24-25 season, showing flashes as a productive rotational player in his second NBA season. Now, when you're looking at this deal by the Detroit Pistons, there's two takeaways. Why are they signing Kobby Jones to a two-way deal? And where's he going to be playing? The first thing, the reason why the Detroit Pistons are signing Kobby Jones to a two-way contract, that time of year. This time of year, you see a lot of teams sign players on two-way contracts. Now, Donis Jenkins, Tolu Smith, and Ryan Harper Jr. are the current two ways. If I had to take a guess, he is going to be replacing Ron Harper Jr. Ron Harper Jr. was a two-way guy, and he was the only two-way guy that was not on the Detroit Pistons Summer League roster. You guys can kind of read the tea leaves there. Ryan Harper may be getting another opportunity from another organization, or maybe the Pistons are ready to move on, and Kobby Jones could be that guy. I think he will be. He's kind of a shooting guard, small forward archetype, if you will. Can shoot the three-point shot, can block some shots. I think he's going to be a very big addition for the Motor City Cruise. I think he'll be a one or number two option with the Motor City Cruise. He's a very good player. I think for the Pistons standpoint, you're going to see this guy in training camp. You're going to see him in some preseason games, but I wouldn't expect him to make the roster. I think this is just a depth signing on the Pistons end, and this is more of like if you're a G League fan or you're a Motor City Cruise fan, like this is a guy that is going to get a lot of reps. He's going to be one of the lead guys. He's probably going to be in the starting lineup for the Motor City Cruise as a two-way guy. Man, it's a body at the end of the day. He's young, 23 years old, shows flashes as a perimeter defender, can hit some threes, but I'd be very surprised if he did make the team, just kind of given when you look at the shooting guards on this team, you look at the small forwards on this team, like you got Jaden Ivey, you got Marcus Sasser, you got Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson, Asar Thompson, Ron Holland. Like, you're going to have to, just go crazy to make this team, because I think JB Bickerstaff and the Detroit Pistons have a lot of depth at shooting guard and small forward. But did want to mention it on the podcast. I think he's a guy that you guys will definitely be watching during the preseason and might fall in love with him. Maybe he has a crazy game in the preseason, or maybe in training camp, the Pistons, post a social media video and he's just, knocking down shots, playing some good defense. But at the end of the day, Pistons are just kind of, flushing out their old two ways and replacing them with new two ways. What does that mean for Donis Jenkins and Tolu Smith? I mean, I honestly think Donis has a good camp. He could make the team. He could be, converted from a two-way to a standard deal. I really like Tolu. The Pistons have three centers right now. I don't really know what their thought process of having four centers. Tolu might just get another contract from the Detroit Pistons, and keep spending time in the Motor City Cruise. I think he's a great option, like a break the glass type of emergency option if anything does happen to Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, or Paul Reed for that matter. But just kind of wanted to update you guys on the new two-way player, Kobby Jones. Really wouldn't read too much into it. Just a depth signing, and he's probably going to be like a number one, number two option with the Motor City Cruise this upcoming season. But we're going to wrap up today's podcast. Hope you guys are having a great night, staying cool out there. Heard it's going to be 94 tomorrow in Michigan. Man, I thought the 90s were gone, but hey, they're back. As always, you guys, peace and go Pistons.